What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Bat Flip, where we discuss everything baseballs. I'm Landon Raby. With me, Dylan Taylor. Episode 3 of Season 5. Tennessee sweeps in Houston, um, beating Oklahoma State, Rice, and Arizona by a combined score of 23-6 this weekend. And did a lot of different more of the same, basically, the same Tennessee team. Obviously, a little different competition level this weekend. You saw the lineup kind of um, basically like kept the same lineup all year long. There was or all weekend long. There was some changes here and there, but most of the time it was those same nine guys. Pitching looked good. Again, a lot of home runs, some bat flips, some swagger that Tennessee's had in the past with this new team. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I feel like this weekend kind of showed how good Tennessee can be and probably will be. I assume. Beating Rice. I mean, Rice isn't a very good team, but Oklahoma State and Arizona are pretty decent teams, and we're able to beat Mississippi State and A&M. So I think those are two big wins. Probably those two are back in the top 25 next week, I assume, and we'll see where Tennessee falls. Are they going to move up to number one? Will they stay at two? I think Texas A&M has to take a big fall after losing four straight. But yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from the weekend is this was kind of the same thing they did to Hofstra and Sanford. They hit a lot of home runs, a lot of them solo shots. We want to get more guys on base when we do hit home runs. But yeah, 10 home runs on the weekend and pitching was phenomenal. I mean, they just continue to dominate on both sides, and yeah, they're just fun to watch.
Another bad weekend for the small ballpark crowd too, because if you're
Yeah.
hitting them out of MLB stadiums, then they're I double check, but I don't think there's a level higher than that. So
Hmm.
if
Yeah,
you're doing it that
and
way, I
well,
think you're okay.
the Astros do have a really small park.
As far as
Apparent,
MLB stadiums, yeah,
apparently to Levi Clark, I mean, he's like, I'm not even going to keep it in the stadium. I'm hitting it out of it. So yeah, hitting different zip codes is a new level for Tennessee that I'm all in on.
yeah, and it I think they were all pretty much no doubters too. I mean, there was even if you're calling it a wall skimmer, like when it's coming off the bat at 110, that there's not a lot
Yeah.
of doubt to that. So
Hmm.
yeah, I was again the pitching, like you said, the pitching showed up again, but it's going to be a repeat of last week for me. Just the top to bottom, this lineup is dangerous everywhere. If you're a pitcher, you have no breaths to take anywhere, even with freshmen coming up. And you saw Levi Clark, Marin. I mean, there's just most times you bring a freshman in, and that's a break at Tennessee. There are no longer any breaks with freshmen, and that's very exciting to see.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the freshman because I think it was a little bit surprising to me, and I want to see if it's surprising to you too that you were on day one playing a team like Oklahoma State, who's played some good level of competition, lost some games, but has a really good program. I mean, you just roll out three freshmen in your lineup, and obviously Levi Clark was going to be there. What he done at Sanford, but I was kind of surprised Manny Marin was in that spot and Fisher wasn't at third, and you go with the veteran like Bargo at first. But I think they have trust in those guys, and they're just like, hey, like we think this is our best lineup. That's what we're going with, and three freshmen. And were you kind of surprised by that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean that Marin was one of the guys that I think we talked about last week. Like it's a not necessarily middle infield, but with one of those guys where I mean you see more of a path to playing time in the outfield, even with the established vet of Ensley out there. You
Mm,
know, infield too, it's a lot more about continuity. So it was surprising, especially to see because I mean, yeah, there's all the different ways you can go. You can move Curly to third. You know, you've got flexibility at second, first. It was odd to just see them straight up put Merritt in there, but again, it's what we've talked about before. It's always shocking, but then the result's never shocking because it seems like whoever they put in, they know that they have to produce right then, and so far everybody is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that first day, I mean, Marin gets a curveball hanging and just hammers it over the wall. And you're like, okay, well, he belongs. This isn't a too big of a stage for any of those guys. So I mean, that was the obviously Tennessee won, and they did it pretty convincingly in every game. I mean, even the Oklahoma State game was a 3-run game at the end of it, but Tennessee was kind of in control the entire time. Um, I didn't think the moment was too big for anybody. It just looked like a team that just went in there and took care of business and went home as champs.
Looked very professional in a professional park. There wasn't much drama this weekend, which I think I made the claim last weekend. Like, don't be shocked if there is a loss coming out of this, and they proved me wrong. I mean, there was never really even threat of a loss, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got a lot of stuff on Twitter about Tennessee never loses and they've had an easy schedule up to this point, and I can't wait till Tennessee loses this weekend. Well, you're gonna have to hang on to that tweet a little bit longer because Tennessee did not drop one this weekend, and I mean, it didn't look like. I mean, I just feel like we had stuff left in the tank. Like, we used a lot of pitchers today, but I mean, we could have went 5 or 6 games, and arms would have been fine. Tennessee just doesn't have to use a lot of pitchers. Now they are like I feel like early in the season trying to get guys going, but I wouldn't be surprised later on this season where you might see 9 pitchers in a weekend. Well, Tennessee probably has 15, 16 guys that can throw, but they just they're gonna ride their guys. They're gonna ride Liam Doyle and Tanner Franklin, Marcus Phillips, Nate Snead, Arvinson, Tegan Coons. Like those guys are gonna Dylan Lloyd. Those guys are gonna get their innings. And it kind of stinks to be in like, yeah, I'm going to have a role, but I don't know what it is because you have such good starters where you don't need to use a ton of bullpen arms on a weekend like that.
It's wild to say. I don't know about you. I mean, there's not an exact number. There's no way to know. I see at least 10 big leaguers in the bullpen right now. Some of them as freshmen too. And I'm not talking like 47th round picks. I mean, these are top 20 round guys that are sitting on the bench right now. And yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's what we talked about last week. I mean, it's baseball. It's wild. Like, and let's be honest, the odds of repeating again, like, I mean, that's probably one of the harder things to do in not only college sports, just sports in general. Like, just the nature of the game. That's going to be tough. We are the odds-on favorites, though. I did check DraftKings today, plus
Okay.
700.
Plus
But
what?
I mean, plus 700, I think.
Mm,
Next closest was LSU at 750, I think. Both of those are
okay.
very high. I'll be sprinkling some money on that, by the way. But it's plus, you give me plus 700, I got to take it. But I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it's mind boggling to see how many guys are just sitting there. And it may be bad right now. And if I was a player, I would get it. It may seem rough to not know what your role is. Those young guys, I think that can only help them, though. There is something to be said about, I'm the 6th to 8th inning guy. Like, that's my spot. Or,
Mm,
I'm the guy that if the starter gets in trouble, I go in there. Like, there is something to be said. I mean, baseball players are creatures of habit about knowing your role. But these young guys, it's the best thing for them to get thrown into spots where they're not comfortable.
oh
And
yeah.
back to your first point, I don't know how anybody. I mean, I get what they're saying, like, oh, wait till Tennessee plays somebody legit. Well, you're talking about the national champs, so that's odd to even say to begin with. Like they've proven themselves as a program now,
Sure.
and none of these low level teams that we've been beating up on, it's not been like we're escaping with 4-3 wins. It's like, oh, wait till you play a good team, like you won't escape. Like, it's been like 25-2 every game. So I don't understand where those tweets are coming from, and
Right.
they largely shut them up this weekend. So that was
Hmm.
odd to begin with.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is like Tennessee can score 10 runs a game, and probably every game if they have the bats going. But I mean, teams aren't. I mean, the most they gave up this weekend was the Rice was 3 runs. That's crazy. Oklahoma State is a. I mean, they always score a ton of runs. They scored 2 against Tennessee.
In Big
Um,
12, there's no defense in that league.
yeah, yeah, and it is wild how Tennessee is just able to not only hit the amount of home runs and score, um, all those runs, and then but their pitching is so good too, where you're not able to like even if you catch them on a slow day at the plate, you still got to get your own runs, and those aren't coming in bunches at any moment. So it is fun to watch Tennessee just kind of dominate on both sides. And I mean, one guy who kind of sets the tone is Liam Doyle. And you saw the video. I mean, he hates his opponent, and I absolutely love his hat. Looks like, I mean, he found it at like Carm or something. I mean, it was beat all to crap, and I'm loving that this is the story because last year we got Xander's hat can't stay on his head. I love that Liam Doyle's like hat bill is just gone. No, I think that that's going to be a fun storyline to follow the whole season. And he's just a psychopath, and I'm all for it. I would hate him if he's on an opposing team. I hated him when he was here last year and just shut down Tennessee. But I absolutely love him being on my team.
That's my main takeaway this weekend. Maybe it's stupid, but in the day and age where there's like so many young baseball players coming up that like only care about what drip they're wearing on the field, they've got 7 different batting gloves. They've got these ice cream cones sliding. It's like that's my old man yelling at cloud at the age of 26 years old. But I won't go down that. My main takeaway is the fact you got so many people that, right or wrong, are obsessed with how they look, how they carry themselves. Liam Doyle, his hat bill was at a 45-degree angle on his head. They looked like a dog had chewed the corner of it,
Yeah.
and he doesn't care at all. All
No.
he cares about is popping the zone. So that was my favorite thing I saw this weekend, is just the fact you can tell the only thing that matters to him is how he performs on the mound. He could not care less about anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, he threw 90 pitches. He threw 16 balls. I mean, Tennessee just goes right at these hitters. And that's what's fun to watch. They're not trying to, work counts and this and that. They want to go right at you and challenge you. And that's why you see the strikeout numbers the way that they are. I mean, they struck out, how many they struck out on Saturday? 16. Doyle had 9 and 4 and a third. I mean, it's ridiculous. Tanner Franklin had 5. I thought he looked really good on Friday. I think there was somebody tweeted out in the stadium they had him clocked at 102.
Yeah.
And we talked about it before. It just looks effortless.
It looks like it's still early, it's 11 games now, but I think the scariest part, where say I was a Florida fan and I was being honest with myself looking at Tennessee's team, again, it's only through 11 games. They look like the kind of team where obviously they're not showing any weaknesses in any area. They look like the kind of team where, to beat them, you're going to have them beat themselves. And the scary part is they're not beating themselves, and they're not even having to strain to get to the point of maybe cracking under the pressure and beating themselves.
Yeah.
They're doing all of this effortless right now. That's the scariest part to me. If I'm an opposing fan, is it's going to be pretty rare, I think, this year that a team just straight up. Now, it's going to happen. It's baseball. It'll happen a few times, but it's going to be pretty rare, in my opinion, from what I've seen so far, that you're just both teams are going to give their best and you're going to beat Tennessee this year. Like, if it looks like if any losses are going to happen at this point, it looks like it's going to be because you just get beat. They don't look like they're going to beat themselves to this point.
Yeah, I think Tennessee, we hit 4 solo shots in this game. Is that what it was?
don't even
Yeah,
remember.
four solo shots.
I think Gavin had that many in 5 minutes.
Gavin Keelan. Well, I mean, let's talk about that guy. I said he was a silent assassin 2 weeks ago, and then he has all this personality and swagger, and you have the opposing catcher for Oklahoma State yelling at him as he admires how far he hit a ball. That was awesome. That second home run kind of just like, I mean, we talked about setting the tone. It really did set the tone for the weekend. And then his next one in the third inning that he hit over, I mean, it was more of like a wall scraper, like it could have, but that's also a pretty high wall over there and left. And I mean, he rounds second or rounds first and just turns back to Tennessee's dugout and is just flexing and mouthing. And I'm like, oh, buddy, this is going to be fun for this season. I didn't think he, like, the games I've been to, he doesn't really have a ton of emotion, but man, this weekend something came out in him, and it was his coming out party, I think. Levi Clark's was against Sanford. This weekend it was Gavin Keelan, I feel like.
I guess it's just he hasn't really had any of the. We talked about it before. He's just kind of been steady. Like he hasn't had any of the like real like wow moments.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been very businesslike, and I think with as many wow moments as he had this weekend, it kind of left no choice for him to strut his stuff a little bit. And
Oh, yeah.
also barking at the batter as he just hit one. I mean, I get it if it's a double in the gap and the dude's mouth, and like if you want to bark back, but as a batter, as the ball he hit is flying into the second level of an MLB park and you're barking at him, like that's you lost the game at that point. You got to just acknowledge, let him do what he wants to do. He just went upper deck on you, so probably best just be quiet there.
Yeah, you called that pitch, just so you know. I mean, maybe it wasn't you, but you could have changed it up if you really wanted to. And you told him to throw it, and he threw it, and he got hammered 425 feet. So yeah, that was fun to watch. So we talked about Oklahoma State a little bit. Rice, this is a game where Tennessee obviously just, I mean, it couldn't start out any worse for Rice. You start out 3-0. They get a run back, and then you come back with 4 runs in the second inning. Tennessee just shelled former Vol J.D. McCracken for Rice in that first and second inning, and they did it with obviously there were some walks and but then there were some errors and there was sacrifice fly, and then you started the home runs, and it was Clark, it was Keelan again. I mentioned Tennessee hit 10 home runs. They hit 4 against Oklahoma State, 3 against Rice, and 3 against Arizona. So it wasn't like it was just one game where Tennessee went nuts. It was every single game pretty steady. I think Mike Wilson tweeted Tennessee was averaging 2.6 home runs a game. This weekend they hit 3.3 in a major league ballpark. So, I mean, yeah, we can talk about who's Tennessee played before then, but when the lineup, when you're playing your best 9 guys, all 9 innings, Tennessee's going to have even more runs and beat teams probably a lot worse than they were beating Sanford and Hofstra.
And even if don't, even if one of those guys is struggling, which I mean nobody is to this point, that's tough luck,
Yeah.
Oh, we'll just put the top 50 player in the country that could have signed for a couple million in the draft. We'll just put him in and let him get hot. So that's have fun dealing with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that was you talked about Tennessee, like if you're a Florida fan right now, you're looking at Tennessee. Dude, Tennessee they're going to get AJ Russell, more and more, as he stretches out from coming back from injury. If Tennessee's able to get Asuna healthy, I mean, that's just another right-handed power bat that we'll see kind of how that plays out. I don't want to sit here and predict or anything until we know for sure he's going to be with Tennessee. But I mean, that could shake up the lineup a little bit if he does play first and, or does he DH? But then Levi Clark's there. It's going to be a lot to figure out. But I mean, you could get two guys back that Tennessee, like, I mean, one's played in the College World Series before, and one is probably the best pitching prospect in America when he's healthy.
I mean, just think about it. You've got an infield right there. Just I was like, what's the best case scenario? Ozuna, Gavin, Curley, Fisher, and Clark at DH. That's terrifying.
Oh yeah,
That's not fair.
yeah. And then you have a Manny Marin that could come in and play if you want to play third, and I don't know. I'm excited to see kind of how it works out. It seems like it's working right now with the three freshmen, so I don't know if you mess with it until you get Asuna back and see what you can get with those guys. But yeah, there's just a lot of talent. I mean, Dean Curley's sitting up there. I mean, he had I think 3 hits today, and it just seems like a quiet 3 hits. Like didn't hit. I don't think he did. He hit a home run today. He did not.
No, don't think so.
I know
Or no,
Peebles.
yes, he did. Curley did hit one. Sorry.
Oh, he did. That's right. That's right. But still, like it's everybody else is hitting one. Like it just seems like not one guy has to do everything because it is so consistent. I mean, every starter for Tennessee today against Arizona had a hit. So I mean, they're just consistent, and it seems like they're just a machine right now that's not going anywhere.
Does anyone have more of a right to be pissed than Ozuna right now? Because I mean, obviously, for the obvious of that should. I mean, you've seen Diego Pavia, all these other cases. Like it seems like he's got the case to be playing right now, but it's you're stuck in all the legal mumbo jumbo that takes to even get a caseworker assigned. It seems like, but
Yeah.
that's the obvious reason. The underlying reason for if I'm him, I'm pissed right now is, when he announced it's like, oh, okay, there's probably your first baseman. At this point, like I know he's proven and he's done at the high level. Is it guaranteed? Like he's even seeing the field right now? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
with that, I mean, I'm sure he's doing stuff right now. So it's not going to be, just, hey, you go from the couch to, trying to play in the SEC. But at this point, it's like you went from crap, who's going to play first base? Probably got a couple of decent options to, okay, Fisher can play it. Oh, he don't have to. We've got Ozuna now. To where now you're seeing all of these dudes break right now. It's like, man, you've got to come in with your hair on fire. It's like the headline of getting him. I mean, I don't want to say would become irrelevant because the dude's produced at this level, and you're always going to want somebody like that on the team. But I mean, if I'm him, I am upset right now seeing everybody else rate.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's definitely not an easy. I mean, if you're thinking about transferring here, obviously, like you want to make sure like there's a spot for you. But with the way Tennessee's recruiting and their willingness to play young guys, if they have the talent, they've earned that spot. I mean, there's no guarantee that you're gonna. And Tony Vitello will tell you straight up, like, you want to come here and compete for a job, we're gonna win a lot of games, and you want to be a part of that. Great, if but that's on you. That's on you to decide. Do you want to go to work and earn that spot because nothing's given to you? I mean, his rant about NIL money. He's like, I mean, if you're just coming here wanting more money, he's like, yeah, probably not going to work for you. So yeah, it's one of those things that, I mean, it's a good problem to have for Tennessee because you continue to get your best 9. And it's going to be a really good 9 when you have all that competition and depth and everything like that. But yeah, I mean, everybody's hitting the ball right now. It's not like one guy's struggling. So you're like, okay, when Asuna gets here, he probably takes that spot. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you do.
I feel for him because I mean, it's not like you said, like it's, do you want to be a part of this or not? It's clear he wants to, but he's not allowed to right now. That's got to be. I mean,
yeah.
Imagining the type of competitor I'm sure he probably is to have the kind of production he's had over his career, like that's got to be eating him alive. So yeah, I feel for him. I hope he comes in and rakes right away because the window is getting smaller. I mean, and it's more time that the job isn't yours, and it's more chances for it to be somebody else's. So I feel for him.
Yeah. And then Tennessee, they had Marcus Phillips start against Rice, little Johnny Holstaff after that. I know Rice wasn't the best competition this weekend, but Marcus Phillips still really solid outing. I mean, I'm kind of like on the edge of my seat about that. Like he's proven that he can. I just thought when the competition went up, you'd probably see those numbers go down a little bit. And I guess that's still to be determined because Rice isn't just a juggernaut like they, were back in the early 2000s. But I mean, he still looked really good. And the walks were down. He only had one walk. He gave up 5 hits, 8 strikeouts. I mean, that's going to play. And, we'll see kind of what happens with the pitching staff I thought they would let Tegan Kuhns kind of go because I thought he was pitching pretty well. And, even when he went out, Brandon Arvinson came in. I was like, okay, this kid's pitching pretty good. And then they went to Snead after that. So I'm interested to see kind of who takes on that Sunday role. Is Snead kind of going to be your Camden Sewell, Sean Hunley guy, kind of like what he was last year? Like you're probably going to pitch the most innings out of everybody, but we need you in the bullpen to be at our best. You kind of see them doing that.
I think so. Yeah, the more he gets into that role, the more I would be less likely to change that up. Like
He just seems comfortable in it, and not that he isn't comfortable as
yeah,
a starter, but that just seems like that's probably where he ends up in the MLB too.
he makes the most impact there on this team. I think
Yeah.
with like we said, with all the different arms, one of those guys in the bullpen. I mean, all of these guys started in high school. Like all these guys have thrown a lot of innings and have had to start games before. So I would much instead of taking what he is dominant at and trying to make him a starter and then having to find somebody to fill. I mean, I'm sure someone could at this point fill that role. I think he's much better as just that weapon out of the bullpen. And we've got 15 other guys that are probably going to be big leaguers one day. Surely one of these guys can go out on a Sunday and get 2 to 3 innings, and that's
Yeah.
all we need you to do. 2 to 3 innings of keep it 2 runs or under, 3 runs or under with the way this lineup's playing right now. That's not even anything stellar. That's, hey, just get us 9 outs, brother. And then Snead's coming in and he's going to get us, rest of the game or at least 8th or 9th inning somewhere in there. So, yeah, I would – he's settled into that role. I think he could do just about anything he wants to with as nasty as he is, but you could tell – if he doesn't like that role, he sure hides it well because I think he likes kind of coming in and being like, "Oh, you have a little sign of life. Well, you don't anymore."
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I like him in that role. Tennessee had 45 strikeouts between all 3 games, average 15 per game, which is an insane amount against good competition, like we mentioned. Dylan Loy is another kind of that bullpen arm that they're probably going to use a ton. And then, man, Ryan Combs. Well, we talked about it last night on our More Important Issues show. But, I mean, I think in one at bat, he threw a pitch behind a batter and then later on struck him out. Like, he is just that same type of pitcher that his brother was. And he's got a little psycho to him, too, that I think every pitcher kind of needs. And so, yeah, it's just fun to watch this kind of whole staff right now, even with the uptick in competition, still, put up those strikeout numbers, go after hitters, and then really not give up a whole lot. Like they might give up some hits, some singles here and there, but nothing like it's not a snowball effect. Like they don't let it pile up until it is more and more runs. They just kind of get out of it, or like Tony did against Rice. He's like, I'll just go to another pitcher. If they get a
Yeah.
hit, I'll just go to another pitcher and just kind of keep people off balance. Like with that is it's fun to see too because you have the depth to do it. Like a lot of teams don't have the depth to do that, but Tennessee's able to just play with it a little bit and see what they got.
And yeah, you talked about earlier just filling up the strike zone. Like that's their
Mhm.
mentality right now is we're just going to pound the strike zone. You know, if you serve up a little single, fine. Your odds of getting 2 or 3 in a row and you know actually making something of it right now are very low with just the amount of stuff that we're throwing at them. So that's the crazy. I mean, I'm sure they are. All these guys are on plans, but you know, it doesn't even look like oh, you know, let's really start working the edges. Let's, you know, let's tunnel this one off that. Like it's just fill the zone up and dare them to hit it. So yeah, you're going to give up a single every now and then, but they've shown no opponent so far shown any life of actually creating a threat. I saw a clip today. You talked about how much of a psychopath Combs seems to be. Literally saw the clip today and it made me think of it. Joe Kelly,
Oh
MLB,
yeah.
certified psychopath. Saw the clip of him today where he throws two up and in at the chin of Fernando Tatis, gets him just all flustered, not wanting to be in the box, and then just a nasty two seam that clipped the outside of the zone, and Tatis just walks to the dugout. It's he reminds me of Joe Kelly, just that kind of something's off in there, but it's the good kind of off where he does not care. He's going to do whatever he has to get you out.
Yeah. Dude, you brought that up. It made me think about it. Have you seen? I mean, obviously you watch Liam Doyle pitch, but the amount of life his fastball has, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near that box with
Late
those
life
pitches.
too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's fast out of his hand, but it's something about the last 5 to 10 feet to the plate. It picks up another gear for some reason.
Well, Peoples during the game. I mean, he kept dropping the ball. It would be in the strike zone, but he kept dropping it because I mean, it has so much movement to it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fun to watch. The pitching as a whole has really been fun to watch, and like that we were talking about, they have a ton of options and ton of combinations they can throw at different lineups, and um, yeah, so it's going to be fun to watch. Kind of Frank being like a mad scientist just behind the scenes with all those options that they have. Um, I think we talked about Arizona a little bit. This was another. I mean, Tennessee just hit home runs, struck out a ton of batters. One every starter had a hit. I think it was huge to see Andrew Fisher and Cannon Peoples hit another home run. I think Cannon Peoples, especially, you saw him move down the lineup a little bit during the weekend. I mean, he just got a hit, and that's one of the things. He's probably at a position where it's like you don't have to be just a big time hitter. But with Stone Lawless back there, like you have to be able to do it a little bit, or you're going to lose a job. And so I think it was good for him to kind of see that one. Hopefully that gets him going before we get into SEC play.
you could see the talents there. It's just a matter of when it's going to break out for him because it's still at Tennessee, still never really has. And like we talked about, like it's not entirely his fault. It seems like he's had something nagging since he's been here. So
Mm-hmm.
it's frustrating to watch a little bit, just knowing what's behind him there, and I'm sure it's frustrating for him too. But I still don't really have any doubts about him yet. I think once he puts it all together, you'll see that the old flashes will become the new norm.
Yeah, and Andrew Fisher, seeing him hit one out, I think that was, and we didn't even really get to enjoy his because right after that, Levi Clark sent one out of the stadium. So, um,
Yeah,
yeah, I think it was big for those two guys to get going a little bit. I think they're not struggling, but it's two guys that you had high expectations for that it hasn't like broke out yet, and maybe that's a little worrisome because of Hofstra and Sanford. You like to see those guys get going against them, but maybe Andrew Fisher's just a guy who's like when competition gets better, that's when I'm going to rake. And maybe
yeah,
hopefully that's the same for Cannon Peoples too.
yeah. It's the first time where it's Cannon's job too. I mean, we love Cal Stark. Cal Stark's a national champion catcher. if you're just comparing talent, I mean, it's canon. Like, I don't think anybody would disagree with that. But
Yeah.
at the same time, even with that talent advantage, like, it was never really his job last year. Like, Cal created his role and stuck to it and produced in it. So it's probably just part of the mental side too now of knowing, like, you know, in a perfect world, you are the guy. You just gotta produce with it. It Back to, you mentioned Levi Clark again. Was it you the first or second week that made the Jordan Beck comparison where
Oh yeah.
he looks like, yeah, the more I see him, the more since you said that, every time he steps in now I do have to do a quick double take at the
It's
TV
crazy.
just to see.
It's insane.
Then he
Yeah.
hits it and you're like, are we sure that's not Jordan Beck?
Right.
The question gets stronger then.
I need to see him in right field, and then I'll know for sure. But yeah, it's
I saw Jordan Beck hit a lot of home runs. That home run Levi Clark hit, that is no disrespect to Jordan Beck at all, because he had some moon shots here. Levi Clark has some power.
I tweeted it, I think yesterday, like Levi Clark he's probably going to have his name up there toward the top of Tennessee's home run leaders after his 3 years here. And the only reason why he's going to play 3 years here is because he chose to go to college and he has to be here for 3 years because of his age. Yeah. Which is crazy because, I mean, there's probably, I mean, watching him these first couple weeks, I think teams might have been like, maybe we should have upped that a little bit.
He does not look like a college baseball player. Like, all the Mike Honcho jokes, 35-year-old man, like, yeah, they apply just as well, if not better, to Levi Clark. Right now.
Absolutely. And then you have Jay Abernathy in the 9 hole, and he's just kind of a toy. I mean, the bat's going to come along, I feel like, but I mean, he's there to like get on base, and then you have 2 of the best hitters in the country, and Dean Curley and Gavin Keelan, to get you in, and you can kind of run him around the bases to make pitchers throw them off a little bit, make them think about that, and hopefully they make a mistake to Dean Curley or Gavin Keelan. I love that kind of setup there in the lineup where you have Abernathy, then Curley, then Keelan. I think that's fun to play around with, especially with opposing pitchers.
And his floor is going to be so high too, just in terms of what he's needed to do this year, just for that exact reason. If you keep him in the 9 hole, if he hits 250, it's worth it. Just with the amount of times he's going to be on at 250, think about all the RBIs then. Because I mean, up until this point, if anybody's on base for Curley and Gavin, if they're not getting home, they're going to be standing on third, rounding third, looking at the plate right now. And it's if it's Abernathy, he's not rounding third, looking at the plate. He's already slid into home. He's on his way to the dugout then. So I love that. He's in a position where he can be an excellent player. He's going to be, and the good part is if he hits there and the top of your lineup's producing, he doesn't even have to be. He can be mediocre, and it's still going to be worth it.
Yeah, I know we're about to get out of here. I do want to mention who Tennessee has left on the schedule this week. They play Radford on Tuesday. They got another midweek against Xavier on Wednesday, and then they go St. Bonaventure Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we're West Georgia on next Tuesday, and it's SEC time as Florida comes to town. So it's getting here. It seems like, I mean, the season just started and we're already talking about SEC plays right around the corner. So it flies by when you're having fun. Tennessee's having a lot of fun right now. We'll see kind of where they're ranked, first or second, I guess, in D1 baseball. But who knows? Who really cares, I guess. But I thought Tennessee being at 4 was kind of a little disrespectful after taking care of the national championship. But yeah, we'll just keep doubting us. Keep doubting Tony Vitello. I think that's the way he likes it anyway. Let's go MVP real quick. I think you went first last time. Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I will go Gavin Keelan. I'm sorry if I'm taking yours. I feel like that's an easy one this week. He was 9 for 15 this weekend. Insane. With 7 RBIs and 4 home runs. And also, I know we're going to talk about the bat a lot. I think he's a pretty good rangy second baseman. He made a diving play today that was really good. So yeah, I think he's an all around player, and I think he's just going to shoot up draft boards as the season goes on. But yeah, I'm going to go Killing for my MVP.
Reminds me a lot of your boy Cano. Like that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it. It looks like he's putting in more effort. You know, not to say Cano didn't put in effort, but Cano is just smooth with everything.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Gavin so far. Everything look even if it does, it's like Josh Dobbs running down the field. It doesn't look like he's running that fast, and you
Mm-hmm.
realize, well, he's just tall and taking long strides. That's how he's
Yeah.
pulling away from defensive backs. Everything's smooth and easy with him so far. And those kind of players. I'm a Yankee hater. We know this. We've talked about this. I always love Cano though, because Cano is just. I don't think
Smooth.
Cano ever sweat in a baseball game. Like it's just he was born to do that. Yeah, you did take mine, but I mean it was the obvious one. But
Yeah.
lucky me, I guess I'll just have to go with the psychopath that wears his hat with a curved edge to it, Liam Doyle. I mean, I don't know what else you could say about him at this point. I've said it probably 10 times now in this 3 or 4 shows we've had now that
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a shock this year if you're not starting a series up 1-0. And what else could you ask for? Like, and kind of the theme of this whole show, it's looked easy. I don't talking about Cano never sweating. The only reason Doyle has sweat so far is from his face getting so red and how angry he gets at anybody even stepping in the box to think they can get a hit off him. I think that's the only reason he sweats so far. Like
I mean, isn't that crazy that you get called those names just because you stepped in the box against Liam Doyle?
Yeah, you didn't even do anything to it. Could be I'm sure very nice guy, but
Yeah.
you will get called that just for having the audacity to think that you can. And I love that because
Yeah.
I loved it. Braves guy, obviously Greg Maddux, he had that mentality, and you loved it with Maddux because he didn't throw 100 miles an hour, but he could,
Mhm.
he could hit an eyelash from 100 yards away. Like he knew where to put it, he knew how to attack you. So I've always respected that part of the mentality, but it's also really nice when guy like we've had Garrett Crochet here. When you've got Garrett Crochet level power behind you, maybe not quite to that extent yet, but you've got that level stuff and the mentality of how dare you think you can hit off me.
Yeah.
It's just I love both sides. I respect both sides equal, but it does have a little bit of up to it when you can see his face is literally as red as this bottle next to me just because of how angry he is at you.
Right. Yeah, and his hat looks like, it's been trampled on. Getting called that, you're like, what is going on here? I'm sure the batter's like, am I missing something? I'm
Yeah,
so
you would think he took dirt and like hit Peebles with
Yeah.
dirt, like it
Yeah.
not like did something does like called your shot, but no, you just stepped in the box, and just because of that, you are scum of the earth to him.
Yeah. Here's 97 with movement. Good luck.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like that one. All right. Well, great show. Tennessee's still undefeated. We'll be back next week. Previewing some SEC baseball. Crazy. All right, guys.
probably
Thank y'all
still
again for
undefeated by
listening.
then.
What'd you say?
Probably still undefeated by then too. Because
Probably.
no disrespect to St. Bonaventure, I did not know they had a baseball program. That's no disrespect. There's just a lot of those smaller schools, they don't have everything. I did
Right.
not know that.
Yeah, I haven't really done much research on the Bonnies yet, but yeah, well, we should be undefeated, going into SEC play. That's the goal, and then we'll just stay undefeated. We might not lose a game. I'll just go ahead and say right here, we might not lose.
Might as well.
Yeah, obviously that's not true, but yeah, Tennessee looks dominant right now. So we'll get back in the action on Tuesday night against Radford, and yeah, just take it one game at a time. Thank you all again for listening. This is the Bat Flip.